Hello, it is me. I learned how to use this software. Aren't you guys proud of me? Woohoo! Aren't you so proud? I did it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is pretty fun because you can just put stuff in and you know, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it'll just be on. You can click this button and it's really fun actually. I'm having a good time. And okay, yeah, okay, welcome everyone. Welcome. Oh my goodness, thank you. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast. Oh my goodness. That's so great. Yeah, well, yeah, here we are. I like to think I'm interesting. Um I have been a little bit lax about like uh having other I haven't had people on the podcast yet, but I promise I will. I've had a few people who want to do it. I just like I just like sometimes I just like to sit down and record. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. So I wanted to say also quick promo. So remember the web series that I mentioned like a while back, Jude and Julia? Well, that's actually a thing. That's actually gonna come out real soon. I'm not sure when. I haven't decided the exact dates, but like we're pretty much finished with the edit, and it's gonna be posted to YouTube on Loser Creative really soon. The YouTube channel, which I always link at the end of these. Also, if you're on YouTube, it'll be on this channel. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, as you guys have heard, I've been really I don't know, it's just been a struggle to get here. And I kind of never thought that, I don't know, like for a while I was just starting to think that it wouldn't happen because of the mental place that I was in and because of just the amount of effort that I was willing to put in, which was kind of non existent because I'd worked so hard, on this project for a long time. And I lost steam when it came to editing. And the thing is, I lost steam on TF too. I mean, so little known fact, when I made TF, early in the podcast I mentioned okay, well these are always demonetized, so whatever. The my podcast, not my podcast, I'm sorry. My movie, my 15-minute short film called Tranny Faggot. Yeah, so that's why. I was having a really hard time my last semester of college, and I made the project, and I was sitting there, and I was the only one that I wanted to edit it. I wanted to be the one to edit it, and because I don't know, because I'm crazy. And it was just something that I wanted to see through all the way through all the creative processes myself. Don't do that. Please don't do that. It makes you like the project so much more if you really invest yourself into one or two parts of the process. Like doing all of it is a really hard thing to do. And I think one of the hardest struggles that I've had is sort of giving up my baby to other people to raise, if that makes sense. So like the script and the general idea and the concept, like I have a really hard time letting go of it. So and giving creative freedom to somebody else to do something with. And editing is creative freedom. And so I was just like, I don't want anybody else touching this. And well, there was gonna be this film festival at the college that I went to. And the thing is, I was really close to finishing it. I just couldn't finish it that in time for that deadline. I just couldn't. It was just, and the thing is, like, there wasn't even that much I had left. It's just that I just couldn't do it. So yeah, basically, it's just like I bring this up because the last time I tried to do this, I really burnt out in the editing phase, and I want to say a really huge thanks to Stuart, my brother. He really made this project come back to life, like literally come back from the dead. It's about vampires, so it just would not have happened without him. So and I hope you guys really like his edit because I think it's really amazing. He made it into an actual thing. He made it real, and so yeah, because of him, it's gonna come out. It's gonna be on YouTube and really, really soon. So keep on the lookout for that Jude and Julia web series. Yeah, check it out. Yeah, so anyway, moving on. So I talked about politics last time, and I want to talk about something else this time because I don't know, politics have been a lot more depressing. I mean, well, they've always been depressing. Like my whole thing was just to say like, hey, like let's figure other stuff out. Let's talk to each other. Like that's really important. And that's I've said my piece on that. And also one more thing I will say is please make sure to take care of yourselves and, I've been really admiring the kind of the stuff that has come out on social media about like not overwhelming yourself because I feel like there have been these sort of like bear witness kind of things of like you have to sit here and look at all of it and feel all of it. And it's like I don't find that rhetoric particularly helpful because it makes people not prioritize themselves or their mental health or anything like that. And it also makes them in having poor mental health or all those things, it makes them unable to do the work that needs to be done. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect. I will say that like in my personal opinion, I think that's the way to go is to like recognize that we're all human beings and that we all, don't want a lot of stuff that's happening to happen and that, whether it's about atrocities happening in other sides of the world or something happening here, like it's okay to take a break from the barrage of information, but also to be informed. So, stay safe out there, especially if you're queer or trans, especially if you're trans. Hey now. Also, if you're any other minority, honestly, never mind. If you're anything, yeah, you are loved, you are seen, you are heard, and your voice matters. And we're going to get through this as we've always gotten through. And we're going to take care of each other. Yeah. And I happen to think I'm a pretty good listener. So if any friend who I know needs someone to talk to, right here, let's chat. Also, check up on your friends during this time, see how they're feeling because we see too many things on social media and we don't talk about it in real life. Like I said in my last episode. Okay, now we are done with that. So, what is it? We're going to talk about anime today. Sorry, it's gonna be a nerd out today because I want to talk about something that makes me feel really good. Um, okay, so so first of all, I really like anime. I don't really consider myself a weeb because I don't really know what that is. I'm somebody who does not participate in fan culture. I haven't been to any conventions, but I am somebody who really enjoys watching and consuming anime or manga or anything like that. I really find it fun, and I have very specific tastes and very specific things I like, and I find it really fun. And I have a I have like two pieces of merch. I'm not, crazy about that, but it is one of my favorite things to do is to find a new anime or to watch or just to watch anime in general. So I thought I'd like to talk about that today and explain a little bit, how I got into it and, what kind of stuff I like and, why anime? What's the, why not Western cartoons? I also watch a lot of Western cartoons. I'm really, in general, just fascinated by animation and how beautiful it is and how it can be used to tell a story. Like I feel like animation does something that like live action just can't do in a lot of ways. Like a lot of times when people try to make live action versions of animation, like it just doesn't work as well. Like I guess sometimes it'll sort of work, but like I've never seen something that I've been like, this is a great companion to what like if you have any examples, like please tell me. But like I really don't have an example of like something that somebody made from an animated version into a real life version that's good. I think there's just something about things being animated that you're able to suspend your disbelief about so many things and it's inherently not grounded in reality. Like there's just so much opportunity for just crazy stuff, just really really fun crazy stuff. So first of all, how I got into it, as you might not know, well, as you probably know, I've said it. I'm gay and I'm into women. I know that's kind of confusing because it's like when when you're transgender, it's like, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're, that you're gay or you're into, different people. So yeah, so I'm into women, just women. And basically, there was this girl that I really liked, and she told me about this thing called Yuri, which is basically in anime, it's called girls' love, which is can be anything from, girls just being very close to the point of maybe like having romantic feelings, even if they don't like kiss or anything, like it's a whole weird genre. Like they don't necessarily have to be lesbians, which is really really weird to me. But like within this genre, luckily there are so many lesbians, and so and there's so much content out there that is just a whole genre of content. And unfortunately, in the early years of this content, it was meant as just fetish content. To be honest with you, for straight men who liked women and wanted to think about women being with other women. But in a lot of ways over the years, like and there also have been a lot of exceptions to that like it has been they have done a lot of really interesting characters. So my first one that I watched, one of my first ones was this one called Strawberry Panic, and it was based off of this manga that my friend read. Basically, it's kind of it. I love describing anime plots because they sound so crazy, but when you watch them, they really, really work. And something I really like about anime is that you can see all of these beautiful, fantastic worlds, and in such stylistically, interesting ways. And they are how a lot of them can have like adult themes. They can, say curse words, they can have gore, they can have certain tropes and certain themes just like we do in our media, and they're really really fun. And it's not to say that our cartoons aren't fun, but like traditionally our cartoons have been very much for a younger audience, and so therefore like they don't go into as mature topics. Now of course we have some exceptions to that, like for example, obviously not obviously, but like if you're a fan of animation, of Western animation, you'll know about Steven Universe, which is one of my favorites. And that was one that was very famously for general audiences, which is a term that people have been, I'm not sure if it's an official term, but it's a term that like fandom has been talking about a lot, where if something is general audiences, it means that it is sort of for everyone. So while it doesn't have curse words or like sexual things or like, a lot of gore, like it does deal with very adult themes that you might not see in other stuff for younger viewers. So for example, Steven Universe, well, it does touch on sexuality, right? It does have LGBTQ characters and themes. It doesn't really directly acknowledge them except in passing. It's very much like they are there and they exist, which I find to be super helpful, especially to a child audience, because it means that the children will, get to see this for what it is, which is normal. It's just normal. They're just people, and they're not having sex all the time or sexual ingrates, just like straight people, aren't having sex all the time and aren't sexual ingrates. Like they're just people who, like they're just people. And it means nothing else other than that. It's just people doing people the same way that anybody else would, And they also have basically this cool, the animation has this cool concept of like where they're all gems. So they're all named after gemstones, and they literally are gemstones. However, they take the forms of these sort of alien looking women. I won't spoil it for anybody, but like they take on these forms of these women, and their gem will be like set somewhere on their body. Like one of the characters has a gem on her forehead, and one of them has them on her fists. One of them has them, on her chest, and they all have these things. But like in reality, they just form sort of their bodies around these gems. So technically, they are all, in the creator Rebecca Sugar's words, they are all non-binary women, meaning that they take the concept. So I know that might sound confusing. Now I'm going to go into this, but they take the concept of non-binary and they combine it with, because non-binary women sounds like a confusing term, but what it really means is just that it kind of leans into the fact that like gender is whatever we want to make it. I'm so sorry to anybody who thinks it's just one or the other, but it really, it kind of, in terms of expression, in terms of being, it is really fluid and very interesting. And instead of like a limiting way, it's an opportunity. It's really amazing. Again, we're gonna have a trans episode, I swear. I'm gonna talk to you about all my feelings about it. I think it's really incredible, actually, like to start considering other genders, other things. Anyway, going back to what I was saying about Rebecca Sugar. Rebecca Sugar thinks of these gems as non-binary, because technically they are gems. They don't have genitals, and also this is one kind of spoiler. So spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. If you want to watch Steven Universe, kindly click away, and I will let you know when I stop talking about this. But they all of them of this gem race, they are all actually women. They all are referred to with she, her pronouns during the show. Steven, the main character, is half gem, half human, and he is the only one who uses he, him pronouns and has a gem. So basically, all of the gems are of the same gender. And also, none of them have sex organs or reproduce in the way that we as humans understand them. And, so in that way, they have no biological, like the way that humans can understand biological sex. So, and yet they present as women. So, the way to describe them is sort of that they are genderless women in a way, because their presentation reflects women. And that is how Rebecca Sugar actually feels about herself. She uses she, they pronouns. I'm not sure if it's they, she now or what has changed. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, she's the creator. And they made it based off of their own experiences of feeling genderless but presenting as a woman, and sort of having those kind of double things, which is really fascinating and beautiful and interesting, as like being just this expansion of what you are. And I feel like anybody can do that, even cisgender people. And if you don't know, cisgender means that you identify as the gender that was assigned to you at birth. So if you were born with an M on your certificate and you identify as male, and maybe because of what your genitals are, like that means you are cisgender. It's not a slur. It's not anything weird. It just means it's just a way to define us all. Just like how a transgender person is somebody who doesn't define themselves as what they were assigned at birth. So if that's enlightening. Again, we're gonna have a trans episode. Okay, so Steven Universe has these themes, right? And these are, adult, like not adult, but more, and the concepts not only are of LGBTQ nature, which isn't really an adult, which they make it sort of more for kids because it's LGBTQ in itself is not an adult concept, but they also talk about loss and single parenting and, trauma responses and, like family that doesn't understand you, like sort of, it has allegories to like homophobia and transphobia, and it has, like accepting yourself and resolving conflict with friends, communication, like issues like that, getting older, growing up, and those are like, obviously we use a lot of those universal themes, but it explores these things in really interesting and great ways. So that's general audiences, right? So what I was talking about, so that's kind of the furthest that American animation I found goes, in terms of getting into more adult topics. Whereas anime, you can like I'm referring, of course, to Japanese anime, but other places, other East Asian places, I believe they also call it anime. I'm not sure though. But let's just be safe and call it Japanese anime. But basically, they use it as like, it can have gore, it can have themes of like, if you've seen Attack on Titan, it can have themes of genocide, it can have themes of, alien invasion, it can have sexual themes, characters can have sex, like they can, it can be superheroes, it can be anything. And, in some ways, that also makes anime a little bit hit or miss in terms of, like social progress, I'd say, because a lot of earlier anime and a lot of really popular anime, I would say, is not necessarily politically correct. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna go back to what I was talking about Strawberry Panic. Okay, I'm gonna describe Strawberry Panic, which was, I remember, the show that my friend first introduced me to, that was Yuri anime. And so basically, this show was about a girls' school. Yeah, it's an all-girls school, and it's like sort of has weird Catholic themes, but not really, because everybody's gay. So it's so confusing. But basically, there's this transfer student, because of course there is. And as you watch more anime, you'll see more, sort of allusions to Japanese culture and, ways that they do things in schools or in their society. And it's really quite fascinating. It's kind of one of my favorite things, is to see, okay, what tropes did they use, and stuff like that. So basically, a transfer student is a big trope. And also they have to test into their high schools. So that is a big trope as well, where like a kid will test into a high school, or a kid is an honor student, or a kid will, they'll choose a high school to go to, and they'll meet up with somebody in that high school that they have chosen. So this girl that we follow is called Nagisa. I think that's her name. Yeah, it is. And basically, she's a transfer student, and she's like a third year. I don't know. There's this whole thing about this school that like it is not a high school in this case. It is not just a high school. It is also a middle school. So everybody who went to this high school, it's a boarding school as well. So of course it is a boarding school. Because how else would cool things happen if it wasn't a boarding school? But like, everybody, and again, you get all this culture right here, the way that they do things, that is just kind of different. And so, yeah, so she goes to this school, and in the school, everybody else has been together since middle school. And I guess maybe you didn't need to test into the school. I'm not sure what the vibe was, but she tested into the school, and she came from a different middle school and is now going to high school, in this boarding school. And so basically, it's this sort of, they have like 3 different schools within one school, and they have the student council presidents. That's also a really big theme in a lot of, especially anime about school. They are always talking about the student council president, because they, in that, I don't know, in that society for some reason, or just in the culture of anime, the student council president is always at the top, the smartest, the best, the coolest, and they're really smart and often ruthless. And in a lot of anime, you'll find that, where the student council president is sort of just the ruler over everything, which is just really, really fun. And you always will know it because, if you're watching the Japanese version, they'll call it a seto kaijo. And that is student council president. And the student council also, in a lot of ways, are the elite. Now, whereas when you think in American anime, it's very much like, the cool kids will be the ones the losers, right? Your protagonists will be the ones who don't do so well in school, who aren't that smart, who aren't that athletic. You'll have a lot of things like that. Like, for example, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or if, again, Nancy Classified School Survival Guide, I'm pretty sure I've talked about that. But, you'll see things like that. But in Japanese anime, something that I've very much found over the years is that those people are like real losers. Like, if you are like losers, even in the in the audience's eyes, like the cool people that you really respect when you watch an anime are the ones who are brilliant, who are really, really smart. And if a protagonist is at the bottom of the totem pole, chances are it is because they are less valued for their smarts or for whatever it is they have going for them. And they're very much like, you're cool if you are these things. Whereas I feel like in a lot of ways where we are, if a character is quirky or funny, they are sort of the protagonist, and we root for them, especially in a lot of school anime. So I just think that's very interesting. So keep that in mind. So in Strawberry Panic, there's 3 schools, 3 seto kaijos, which are 3 student council presidents, and then we have 1 étoile, which is French for star, and it means that person rules over all 3 schools. And basically what happens is Nagisa meets someone in the woods because she's late to school. And I think there's this whole weird thing. Again, there's like weird. Japanese anime kind of has a problem with like having dubious consent, but basically they really do. And they have dubious consent and sexism. But this one, there's no men. So it's, and also the characters are very interesting. So I would not say that this is necessarily sexist, but you can watch it if you want. But basically, this girl that she meets in the woods leans in to kiss her, and Nagisa passes out because she's like, "Oh my God, a woman has never leaned in to kiss me. I am a woman." And basically, she gets patched up. She gets back to class, and then she sees this woman again. And then this woman tries to kiss her in front of everybody, like, cause she's like a freshman, or not a freshman. Yeah, she's like a freshman in the high school, but like everybody's known each other since middle school. And so they're all there, and like they're all at these like tables, right, with all the schools. And then this girl, she sees this girl again, and she comes and tries to kiss her again. And Nagisa's like panicking, like, oh my God, like, she's about to faint too. And it's, in the anime, it's kind of like, it kind of looks like she's kind of into it. And, well, I mean, she is kind of into it. And then we find out that this girl is the étoile. She is the leader. She is the most powerful in the school. She's the most powerful and the leader of all three factions. But she's very quiet and she's very, mischievous. And so it's just really funny because like we find out so much about her, and it's sort of, as you can tell, as I'm leading up to this, the show is about their romance. Like, it's cute. There's a couple problems with it, right? Because like, again, like I said, anime has a lot of problems with like consent culture and things like that. So basically, she's like she's like a couple years older than her. She's like a senior, and then she's a freshman. So it's like a little bit like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, okay. But if you ignore that, it's quite cute actually. And it has a very serious tone. And then of course there are a bunch of other romances that blossoms with side characters. You see this one with, oh my God, there's like a love triangle. Like, there's this girl who is a really good equestrianist. It's like a person who rides horses, and she's like sort of the prince of the school. So in a lot of anime, for some reason, in a lot of like lesbian anime, I've noticed, or yuri anime, there's gonna be somebody. It's really fascinating and cool because like before the US had a lot of content for queer people, like there was so much content in Japan, and it's kind of crazy because when I was younger and I was trying to like find content, where I felt seen and represented, like I really couldn't find a lot in the US that wasn't just sad, But then you go and it's like not only really fun and like really cute, cool plots, but it's also like often they have their own tropes, and they've been doing this for a while, like since the 80s. Like it's kind of insane, you guys. If you really like lesbian content or gay content too, they also have yaoi, YAOI, which is for boys. It's called boys love. And that's been around a long time too. And again, it's used to be fetish content, and now it's becoming a lot more serious content where they have better characters, more well-developed storylines, and just, and oftentimes they don't even have sex. Like it's just like sometimes the characters are just really good and the stories are really good, and if you're a fan of that content, I really, really recommend, because it's really cool actually, to see how other cultures handle this, and in contrast how the US is handling it. I mean, they even have really great portrayals of like trans characters too. It's kind of crazy. And yet they legalized gay marriage like after us, I feel like. So it's very, very interesting. I have a lot to say about Japanese culture. I think it's so cool, and I really want to go visit. But anyway, yeah, there's a lot of like romances with other students and, stuff like that. And you see, other students trying to gain power in the school. So basically a lot of it is just like there's power in the school, there's power dynamics, and, but at the same time, Nagisa is like, what am I doing? Like, there's like, you're a woman, but also like I'm into you, but also like you're sad and mysterious, and there's like a backstory here, and I want to be your friend and stuff. And so it's got this really like dramatic theme to it. It's got its moments of humor and light too, but it's really there's like a lot of stained glass everywhere, and like they wear these really long uniforms, and they're black and white, and it's just, and it's not the only reason I say Catholicism or like is because it sort of looks like a Catholic schoolgirl's place, because there's a lot of obsession with that also in not necessarily Catholic schoolgirl, but a lot of obsession with like schoolgirl stuff and like uniforms, since uniforms are like a big thing in Japan, or at least from to my knowledge with all the stuff that I've seen. So the reason I say Catholicism is because they do a lot of church things and stuff, and yet they're not weird about people being gay. Like everybody's gay at this school and nobody's upset about it. Nobody says a word about it. Like Nagisa's kind of the only one who's not into it. And it's really interesting. So, I mean, it's not that she's not into it, it's that she doesn't understand it. And then, of course she understands it. But like, it's really interesting. And so I found this and I was like, this is really cool. This is like, it's nobody's sad. Nobody's like, it's not just filled to the brim with homophobia. Like this is actually really fun to watch. And so I started just watching like a ton of them. And well, that's not the only place I found it. Actually, my Stuart and I, the person I mentioned, my brother, I think also showed me some of my first anime. I think he showed me this one called Death Note. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. He showed me Death Note and Attack on Titan, which are both really fun and dark and really, they really emphasize the whole like, this is animation, but we're allowed to do whatever we want, which is something that's not really a thing here, which I think is why anime is so popular, in other parts of the world, is because it's just not something that's done as much in other places. And then that summer we watched the entirety of every anime on Netflix, and it was super fun. And yeah, so basically Death Note is sort of this anime about this guy who something called a death note falls out of the sky, and it has the power to kill people if you write their name in it. And then he meets this god of death, who was the one who dropped it, and called a Shinigami. And that actually, Shinigami is something that comes up a lot in other anime too. It's really cool when you watch so many of them, that like common threads will come up, and you'll see like stuff that isn't just they made up for this one series. It's stuff that's actually like prevalent in other parts of their pop culture. So like I really recommend. It's fascinating, especially if you're a film buff and you're somebody who really enjoys looking and seeing patterns like me. I definitely recommend that too. Also, if you're somebody who is always finding these TV shows and they're like an hour and you're like, dang it, I really want something that's like shorter but also has the same punch and fun to watch, I would really recommend anime to you as well, because often it comes in either 12 episodes. The shortest will be 12 episodes. Yeah, and sometimes it'll be like a few seasons, maybe like 1 or 2 seasons, maybe. A lot of times they'll just release one season and it'll have 12 episodes. And they'll be like 30 minutes or so, or 20 minutes. They'll be 20 minutes most of the time. I've seen anime with 10 minutes. So, really quick, but often really impactful and really fun. And then you'll have the really long animes, which are like, if you've heard of One Piece. One Piece is this anime about pirates. And that's as vague as I can be. Really cool, stylistically interesting show about pirates, where like there's pirates with magical powers and stuff like that, and like it's really fascinating. So that one has like over 1,000 episodes now, and many seasons. So you'll have stuff like that. There are multiple animes like that. It's kind of like that. It's not really like US television or limited series where we have like an hour-long episode, and then you'll have maybe like Game of Thrones. Like there's not really a lot of stuff like that in anime. Some of the most impactful and fun series like in anime are just one season with 12 episodes. 12 to 24 episodes. So Death Note has 2 seasons, I think like 12 to 24 episodes in each, and it has one cohesive story, and then the story ends at the end of the second season, which is also something really nice about anime, is that they very much, unlike Netflix culture of canceling shows, like when the story isn't quite resolved, and having to have other places pick it up or not pick it up, and how frustrating that is to like get invested in a TV show and then suddenly you find out the network or the streaming service has canceled it or moved it somewhere else. Like anime kind of doesn't do that. At least something I found is that they they do stuff like that where they leave stuff open for a long time, but like a lot of times if you're given one season, they'll finish the story in that one season. If you're given like 2 seasons, they'll finish the story. They don't do the thing that sometimes American TV does, where they will purposely not end the story so that they can hope for another season. What's cool is about a lot of anime is that they are all based off of manga. Pretty much all of them are based off of manga or light novels, which are basically like small like books, or of course manga meaning Japanese comic books. And so the story will already be there. And sometimes they'll change stuff from the anime, like if they don't have as much, if the studio was like, hey, we're only going to have like one season or so of this, so like maybe wrap up the story or something like that. But like most of the time the story is already there and it's already selling really well. And what they do is they will make an anime to promote the manga, or they'll make an anime to promote the light novel series, and they'll make more of those because it's way more popular to read comic books in Japan than it is here. So, for example, like if you're going to buy a manga here, it's going to be like $12. But if you actually buy it in Japan, it's going to be like $3, which is so interesting because it's kind of like, this is just, a magazine you'll pick up on the street, and you'll just read this manga, you'll just buy it with your pocket money. It's very different for us when we go to a bookstore where we pay like $20 to buy a book. The culture is really, really interesting and really cool. And it's something that I've been really enjoying looking at myself. It's very much been a by myself pursuit, looking up all this anime stuff. Just to another thing to talk about, Death Note. Let me just finish my thought with that, is that Death Note is about this kid who gets this book from a Shinigami, which is a god of death. And whoever's name he writes in it is called the Death Note, and whatever name that he writes in it will die. And it's basically about sort of the anti-hero, not even anti-hero, the journey of this really, really smart honor student. He's this really smart honor student. Like I said, the protagonists are normally the ones who are super duper smart. It's not the dumb cool ones or the funny ones. Like, he's incredibly smart, incredibly athletic. Everybody loves him at school. He's incredibly popular. And basically he decides that he is going to save the world by killing all the criminals. So he is going to decide who lives and dies. He is going to be God. So he goes around, and his dad is a chief of police. So he goes around killing people, and basically people find out, and they don't find out it's him, but they start calling whoever's killing these people. They find out that all these killings are connected, and they find out whoever's killing these people is like the same person. They call him Kira, which I think is like killer. It's really fascinating, and it's all about sort of who done it. It's all about like finding out, okay, who is the one killing everybody. And the student's name is Light Yagami, by the way. So, and then his archenemy in the series is L, who is the lead detective on the case, and he's super smart. Again, super smart, super weird, but super smart. And they are sort of locked in this eternal struggle to beat each other at their own game, to outsmart the other. And it's basically a battle of wits, the whole show. And it's fascinating and really fun and exhilarating. And I would say, like, and also the animation style is really cool. It has a lot of themes of like playing God, and a lot of themes of who gets to decide justice, stuff like that. And also just really interesting, like battles of wits. It's just really fun watching this guy be so smart. That's a lot of anime, is that like something that I also find satisfying about it is that a lot of the themes are very much about like the protagonist being real, like being beaten down a lot, but being really awesome at the end of it. A lot of it is about overcoming struggle, especially a lot of the action anime, which is called shonen, which is the fighting anime. And I would say that describes Attack on Titan. This next one I'm going to describe. This one is about how all of humanity is behind the safety of these walls, right? These giant walls. And they need to be kept safe from these giant humanoid-looking creepy things called Titans, which are basically these giant, like they look like humans, but they're really tall, and they eat humans for sport. They hunt humans and they eat humans. They're not intelligent. They don't talk, but they do they will like crash down walls and pick up people and eat them. And they are like hunting them. They don't even use them for nourishment. They are hunting them to hunt them because they want to kill them. And it's really creepy and it's really fun because it's also a mystery because you're like, where did these come from? You know, what's happening, you know, and stuff like that. And basically it's the perspective of this little boy and his two friends. And basically there's this whole thing where like his village gets attacked and basically like he grows up later and he decides that he wants to kill all of these things and you know, win this war that humanity is in. And so it's really interesting, really fun. I really would highly recommend. It's kind of depressing at times, and very gory, very creepy, but really like exhilarating and fun. And again, like there's just something really, really cool about like something that's action or something that's fantasy when it's animated. Because when it can be animated, you know, like with more mature themes, like, you know, like when it can have violence and character death and stuff like that. And sometimes a lot of gore, like it can be really like impactful. Like it can make a story really, really impactful and fun. Yeah, so those are some explanations of anime, but also a lot of the anime that I like is a little bit different than that. I mean, I like that anime too. I love me some shonen anime. I love me some really good anime, some really good fighting anime. I'm very much into uh, this guy fights really well and he's awesome. I have, again, in the gender episode, I'm going to mention that I feel my gender is anime boy, and it is just a description. I know that I'm not a real anime boy, but it is a description that I use to understand how I like to interact with the world and how I like to present myself. And it's really fun. And again, in the gender episode, I really am going to recommend everybody to like really start thinking about that because it's actually really fun and really eye-opening. Um, okay, so the kind of anime that I like is I like shonen. I like I like really silly ones too. I very much big thing is I really like when there's a really cool lady in it. I love ones where there's a really cool dude protagonist because it's who I feel like, but I also really like ones where like the ladies are really cool. I can't stand the ones where the ladies are annoying and bad. Like I don't understand how you walk about the world and don't know how to write a female character. I don't really understand how people can just be so ignorant about women in general. I just don't get it. Like, you've met a woman, right? You talk to one, you understand that they're real human people. Like, they're not just like giggling around and have enormous boobs. Nobody has boobs that big. So, this is something I have a problem with anime, and also is that despite all of these really cool things and really cool visuals they have, is that they have a real problem with sexism, and that they make anatomically impossible female bodies. Anatomically impossible. They make tiny stick people with enormous boobs, and it makes no sense. And that is like my one qualm. And the thing is, you might say, Lou, what are you talking about? You like women. Wouldn't you want to see huge boobs? No, I'm attracted to what's inside, thank you. No, but seriously, like I don't I don't understand the appeal of looking at a woman just to look at her in an anime. Like I don't or on TV, like I don't understand that concept. It's way more fun to look at women and to be with them and to be like, yeah, that girl, that she's so cool in this show. She's so cool. You know, like I'm way more attracted to that and I want to watch that way more because also you know, in real life, I'm way more attracted to that. You know, I'm attracted to like somebody, you know, I could talk to and is cool and is like, dude, does cool things. Yeah, they're beautiful. Beautiful is cool, but like, you know, like it's way cooler, I swear, guys. Like, what are we doing here? Like, if you actually talk to a human woman, you know, and made this woman beautiful and awesome, like, can you imagine in the show? You know, it's just like, writers, what are you doing? I say this to Marvel too. Writers, what are you doing? Can you please write a human person? Human people are way more fun to watch than non-human people, like than just lampshades. Like, please let the women that you write, like, do things in the plot. Let them be something other than just a pretty face. Like, let them do things and be real characters, please. It's really fucking annoying. Like, just, it's really not hard, actually. You can just write a person. Just be like, this is a person, and write them, you know? Just write them. Anyway. it's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, I like that. I like stuff with really cool women in it. Obviously, I like gay anime. I really enjoy gay anime. I also like anime about video games and anime about leveling up. I think that stuff is super fun. Solo Leveling is a really fun one that I've been watching recently. But yeah, anyway, I'll probably talk more about my preferences. I just started on a ramble, and you know me, I really love to ramble and I really love to talk about the stuff that I like. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, I think I'm going to get a guest. I'm going to get my guest for the first time. Um, and hey, guess what? Do you remember the thing I was talking about, the outro song? Oh well, it's here. I'm excited to show it to you because it's sort of memeing on my previous outros. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And I'm definitely going to talk about anime another time. A friend of mine and I have already decided to talk about it on the podcast. So it's not going to be the last of you hear about anime. This has been. I like to think I'm interesting. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. See ya.